in 5 seconds.
Namaste and greetings. I, Remat Arora, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav Evam Niti Anusandhan Sansthan, Nai Delhi, extend my warmest welcome to you all to IMPRI #Web Policy Talk. We are gathered today for a book discussion on Singularities of Municipal Finance #City Reflection, authored by Mr. Sameer Unhale and published by IMPRI Books. Congratulations, sir. This discussion is organized by the #IMPRI Center for Habitat, Urban and Regional Studies, CHURS, as part of IMPRI #Web Policy Talk book discussion series. I welcome all of you to this enlightening deliberation and thank you for tuning in to this discussion. Now let me introduce the esteemed gathering. Our chair for the session is Dr. Rumi Ejaz, Senior Fellow, ORF, Urban Policy Research Initiative, Observer Research Foundation, New Delhi. We welcome you, sir. We have the author of the book and speaker, Mr. Sameer Unhale, Visiting Senior Fellow, IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, New Delhi, Joint Commissioner, Department of Municipal Administration, Government of Maharashtra, and Urban Practitioner. Welcome, sir. The distinguished panelists for the session are Professor Mahalya Chatterjee, Professor of Economics and Coordinator, Postgraduate Diploma in Urban Management and Planning, University of Calcutta. Dr. Purnima Chauhan, IAS retired, former Secretary, Government of Himachal Pradesh and Director, Himachal Pradesh Institute of Public Administration, HIPA. Dr. Soumyadeep Chattopadhyay, Associate Professor, Economics, Vishwa Bharati Shanti Niketan, Visiting Senior Fellow, IMPRI, and Professor Shyamala Mani, Senior Advisor, WASH and Waste Management, CAH, Public Health Foundation of India, PHFI, former Professor, National Institute of Urban Affairs, NIUA, New Delhi. Welcome to all. We look forward to learning from our esteemed gathering. Now, without any further ado, let us start the program. It is my honor and privilege to invite Dr. Rumi Ejazji to start the program with the chair's opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you to the organizers, and thank you, Remat, for the very good introduction. As informed by the organizer, this program is on a book discussion, the title of which you can see on the slide, Singularities of Municipal Finances. And this is in the context of India. It is authored by Mr. Sameer Unhale, who has vast experience in the field of municipal administration, including municipal finance. And he's not only a practitioner, I would say, after participating in numerous discussions with him, I understand he has tremendous and great interest in research and in writing. He frequently contributes to various sources of information and makes an attempt to bring the grassroots knowledge to be made available to a wider community in the urban sector and in all other fields of development. And therefore, this title that he has chosen for today's discussion is very important in my understanding. And I'm sure all the panelists who are participating in the program would agree to this, that when one thinks about municipal finance, then immediately one is drawn towards the condition witnessed in the cities and the towns of India. As we all know, as you know very well, more than me, India is gradually urbanizing. Slowly there is a shift, demographic shift that is observed from rural areas, from some small towns, people are moving in search of opportunities to where those opportunities are available, and therefore cities are the prime and the main destination for many of the people who are trying to improve their quality of life. And when this demographic shift is occurring, the pressure is building on the institutions that are responsible for the governance of urban areas, whether these are towns or cities. So there are many projections and estimations by the Census of India and by the United Nations who bring out world urbanization prospects about India urbanizing faster than many other nations. And by 2050, around that time, about 50% of the country's population would be hopefully living in areas designated as urban. So when this is the situation, and this is where India is moving towards, the responsibilities of agencies who exist in urban areas becomes very important. And they have to have adequate sources of funds and income and money to run the urban areas in a desirable manner, which means they should be in a position to offer a good quality of life, a better life to the citizens who are either migrants or who have been residing in these areas for years. One can compare this situation of India with many other countries and cities of the global cities where, when one talks about developed economies, then a very striking contrast is visible in terms of the quality of life provided by city governments there and the quality of life provided by city governments in our part of the world. And this happens due to many reasons, including the expertise of those who work in institutions such as municipalities and their financial condition in terms of the projects that they identify, they're able to successfully implement, and the master plans that are prepared. Municipalities cannot work in isolation. They cannot be disconnected from various other entities that exist. When the development authorities say that this plan is to be implemented, many of the projects come in the hands of the municipalities, and therefore they have to be in a good position to be able to implement those plans effectively. One more thing I would say before inviting the author to present his book is about the divided responsibilities that are witnessed in Indian cities. This means that municipalities are handling some tasks, and this is observed in some large urban centers of India, not the smaller ones where it's mainly the municipality that is responsible for doing the work. There could be some parastatal organizations like what we see in Uttar Pradesh, like the Jal Board, and even in Delhi, Jal Board. And in smaller municipalities also, I've observed there are some parastatal organizations that are playing a role in terms of providing some services to the citizens, but the responsibilities are divided between the urban local bodies, as these are popularly known, and parastatal entities like in the case of Delhi, Delhi Jal Board, Delhi Development Authority, and so on, New Delhi Municipal Council, etc. So I would say that municipalities have still a lot in their hands, and the idea of national policy makers is to assign them with greater responsibilities. Efforts have been made in this direction for long, but they have limited responsibilities. But that also involves having a lot of funds at disposal to do the work that they have been designated as per municipal acts. So now moving further in discussion, I would say that the topic chosen for today's discussion, enormous work, as you already know, has been done. Enormous amount of knowledge has been documented on this topic in terms of the practices that are being followed by municipal functionaries, especially the finance departments within municipalities, the problems we all know, the wide range of problems that exists in municipalities in terms of the finances are concerned, and the solutions. There is no dearth of knowledge and information, and we are all familiar with the kind of interventions and innovations that are being introduced. Some successes have been achieved. We often hear about awards being given under the Smart Cities mission to certain municipalities who have shown good performance in financial administration, etc., whether it's revenue management, expenditure management, fiscal decentralization, etc. But it is also true that a lot of work remains to be done. This book, which is being discussed today, covers a lot of so much ground. I've never seen, honestly, I've not seen so many topics that have been discussed under this broad topic of municipal finance. And it is absolutely correct to bring in these various dimensions because the topics is so much interlinked with planning, with smart cities, with many of the urban missions that the government of India has launched from time to time, that you cannot discuss this topic in isolation. So I would like to congratulate the author for, I see it as a very significant contribution, and invite the author to enlighten us with the work that has been put on paper. I believe this is in draft form. There might be scope for improvement further, but this is the beginning of a discussion, and I also look forward to learning from our distinguished panel of speakers who come from varying backgrounds and have expertise in these matters to request them to add further knowledge, enrich this discussion further. So, Mr. Unale, kindly present your work. We look forward to hearing your views on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Rumi sir. Thank you, ma'am. One of the, I think it was important from IMPRI side to encourage a working person like me to, collect whatever ideas he could gather, because finding peace of mind in regular work is a bit of challenge, and finding time again to type that into laptop also becomes another challenge. But yes, thanks a lot for the motivation and support from all the IMPRI family, from you, Rumi sir, from Sean ma'am, you. The idea was what really made me think was that the municipal voices now also need to be registered in the larger urban policy deliberations which are happening. So someone who has seen municipalities for a longer time, I felt that the newer ideas which are coming, which are absolutely welcome and needs to be adopted, but some municipal perspective, some information, data, knowledge that gets accumulated knowingly, unknowingly over a period of time needs to be made available to the larger community, to the researchers, and maybe these various dimensions could also be made available. Secondly, I felt that the maybe post 2015, when we have major missions happening now. I mean, if you look at the interventions of the union government into the urban issues, prior to 2005 were very limited. In fact, even there was not even the finance commission funding was also not that way available to the municipalities before the 74th amendment. And now I think the era of missions, maybe from 2006 when we had the JNERM, and from 2015 we are having multiple missions. The significant funding that is now being made available into the larger municipal issues. We see a shift happening, and maybe the views, ideas, the experiences of the municipalities and the municipal employees also therefore need to be shared. And in this, as Sir had said, there are a lot of interconnected issues. It's very difficult to work only on a municipal finance part, maybe the accounting part, maybe the taxation part, because now we are finding so much of interconnections. So at least getting them together, because I mean I always said, it is also fairly. I mean I am not a student of finance nor political science. So it was attempt of more of getting those ideas and those theories together, probably seeing the interconnections into these various issues. So was one of the ideas which actually motives actually which made me put him. So first was what are the singularities of municipal finance, if one could the initial part of it. Many ask me why this word singularity. I mean, singularities in mathematics has a different connotation. In black hole physics has a different connotation, and but it was the genre of municipal finance is a bit different from the other public finance, maybe of the union or the state, and even the corporate finance, which is either in a profit-oriented or private sector functioning. So the municipal issues are somewhere, in between these various the discussions that happen about finance. So I felt that was the peculiarity and the singular aspects of municipal finance could be highlighted more, and the title was more to convey that message that the issues of municipal finance will be very very special, and it can't be compared or cut pasted from the other issues like maybe union or state or the corporate. So that was the reason actually we felt it could be done. And why is it so special? Is I felt because in public finance the union and the state dominate the entire discourse of the public finance. Obviously, the sizes are huge and also the implications are there. But when we come down to city level, to the municipal functioning, we realize that the economy of the city may be very big, but the money that gets to the municipality is also limited. So I mean, it's just a guess. Being from Maharashtra, we always wondered what could be the GDP of the city of Mumbai, and maybe the wealth that resides in Mumbai, and what share of that actually the MCGM gets, despite the discussion that it is the one of the richest municipalities maybe in this part of the world. So the idea, it was very interesting. That's why we did refer to some of the data published by the Directorate of Statistics here. But there is no single reference to Mumbai city per se, but to the revenue nomenclature like districts and tehsils. So I felt that despite the significance, even the government also needs to capture and accept that the new urban realities are coming, and therefore need to evolve from the only district and tehsil concept into probably the city region concept. And the one of the again, these are estimates, as I say, these are not exact figures because the data is to be extrapolated. The municipal share of the and within the entire economy is very less. So of course it has been pointed out by various other reports also that it is hardly 1%. The fiscal imbalance probably is the word which economists would like to use, is so skewed that if maybe 100 rupees is collected in view of taxes by either level of governments or all the governments, then what the municipalities gets is maybe less than 1%. And then when we are expecting the municipalities to deliver, stand up to the challenges, and what we did the traditional municipality functioning and what now we are expecting, anticipating to happen in maybe next 2 or 3 decades, the challenges which the cities will have to face, it could maybe a slight trailer or a slight glimpse we had into COVID, in which the scale of the functioning was the scale of impact, was so severe, and the cities really had to work a lot, to stand up to the challenges. And maybe now we are expecting greater intensity, greater frequency of extreme weather events or that kind of scenario, the economic impacts, the general geopolitical uncertainties. So those cities will have the new challenges, new technologies which are coming, maybe in data, IT, and those things. So the traditional municipal functioning maybe till 2020, and maybe what the cities will have to face in 2030, 2040, 2050 will be, I believe, a very different genre of issues the cities will be facing. And then we really need to make the municipalities really stand up to the challenges. And all of course, issues are really most important. One, of course, is the capacity building of the people, the staffing rules, maybe the general and personnel management or establishment, as we in clerkdom choose to call it. These issues, and second, of course, is finance, the availability of funds, resources, because after all, money is, I believe, it's a quantification of the social power. GDP is essentially a social power that the community has. It is just a quantification of that abstract concept of social power that the community possesses or the nation possesses, which can be put into use societally. So first of course, was the fiscal imbalance. Secondly, I have found that many deliberations chose only a limited part of improving property tax. Of course, that's the only tax actually which is available with the municipalities now, and all attempts of improving the property tax are always will always be required. However, the broader overview, a synthesizing overview of the municipal functioning and the relevances of finances for deliverables, I think is very important. And therefore, I felt many times focused discussion happens on the many such issues, but a synthesizing effort probably could be needs to be developed further. So this was just a very initial, very, if I may say, a very amateurish attempt, really speaking, to get those ideas together, which felt related with this thing. Secondly, I mean, this is being initial, but I will be more interested in knowing our experts, so I will cut my this basic introduction a bit short. Third, I felt was the manpower issue, the vis-a-vis the financial functions of the municipalities are concerned. Of course, it's very difficult to have a single statement regarding the municipal, scenario in India, because there are almost 5,000 municipalities in India now, and maybe after the post next census, when the figures will come up, probably no one need to be surprised if the figures jumps up maybe 50 or 60%. That's the number of municipalities that will coming, and therefore the municipal functioning, the financial aspects of the municipal functioning, it may be accounting, auditing, a lot of new technologies coming. Then the manpower part to get with the municipalities, especially remoter municipalities, weaker municipalities, maybe will be very crucial. And all the efforts that we are trying to put in, the tremendous funding, of course, has jumped a lot. I mean, as I was going through it, I found that from 2021 to 2025, 6, almost 8 trillion rupees in view of allocations are being made available into the urban sector, which I believe was really a huge jump into what was probably 2 decades back, all the allocation put together. So the manpower issue is going to be very important. And when we expect people to join a municipal service, and if they won't be getting a career progression or career growth into them, so it's going to be difficult to attract good manpower into the municipal functioning. The focus of people working in government can change, but very few people choose to join municipalities. So what could be the options to get the good manpower within the finance sector to give their time to municipalities is also issue. So I shared an experiment which has been done in other parts of the country also, of having a statewide cadre of accountants and auditors for municipalities, which work for the municipality, and greater capacity building and greater higher end training that needs to be given regularly to our municipal staff. Of course, that is also being made a part. The 15th Finance, after the 15th Finance Commission, we are seeing a lot of portalization of data, I think, which was also a new trend, which we are seeing in last 2, 3 years, that all the reports of all municipalities, at least for last 3 years, are being put up into a portal. They are, of course, there might be issues of progressively cleaning the data and getting it, on the same benchmark. But I think the initiative is going to be a great boon for all the people who are interested in municipal finance. All the data are the budgets are to be uploaded, the property tax is being uploaded to that. And I think there's a huge treasure of municipal finance data that will be available into the 15 city finance portal. And the way it is, I think it needs to be made available as early as possible to the academicians and the research and think tanks, so they can work onto it. So generally looking about the municipal finance, A, the sub-sovereign status, B, limited, taxation powers to the municipalities, three, greater control of the state governments, even municipal finance. Fourthly, the newer options like, property, land monetization. Maybe the municipal bond is being discussed a lot, but if we have to make the municipalities work for municipal bond, so how to make it happen? So we all agree with why issue. The challenge is now how to make happen. If we want the municipal bonds to function, what actually needs to be done? And when we are thinking it can't be done only for 2, 3 big cities or maybe 2, 3 bigger states, the challenge is scale, the challenge is speed. If we want to make something happen, we need to make it happen to all the 5,000 municipalities. And the time, if we are to make it happen in maybe 2 months or 5 months and not for decades together. So I think this is a challenge also to the municipal administration, that the scale and the speed, the acceleration and adoption of new technology, which is emerging very, very fast, like the double entry accounting system, as vis-a-vis the single entry accounting, which almost for 20 years is being tried. Now, the utilities, the utility of these ideas also needs to reach to the citizens. We need to communicate more often, more frequently to the citizens as to what exactly municipal finance is, and we need to get the citizens not only participation or engagement once in the budget, but this free flow of open data of how the municipalities functions, how is the municipality functioning, what are the finances, needs to be done more frequently to the citizens. That was another point I felt which needs to be also emphasized, that it can't be a black box, because as we always say that citizen in India is voter once in 5 years, a taxpayer once a year, and then complainant rest of the duration. So that needs to change, and municipalities will have to be more forthcoming with the financial data. They need to be, that's why I think the urban conclave is happening on 31st of October now, and a lot of focus is being put into open data and real time city management, and if the trust of the citizens on municipalities. I mean, the challenges of the ethical dilemmas was the last chapter I felt could have been discussed, because the perception of the people, the taxpayers, regarding the ethical functioning of municipalities, municipal finance, is also going to be an important, drive whether citizens are going to be forthcoming in paying their taxes, A, and B, whether the higher level of governments will be comfortable on giving major financial decision-making powers like property tax and bond to the municipalities if the perception challenge, as some say, or as others allege otherwise, is not tackled. So I think that ethical and moral elements in municipal finance are also equally important, and they do face the various elements of the competitive electoral politics or otherwise. But connecting with the citizens for financial accountability, I think also is very crucial if we have to get people convinced that yes, the money they pay to municipalities will be put in the best way for the benefits of the citizen. And of course, there are certain design issues of processes as to how new technology needs to be adopted, as to how the training needs to happen, and also most importantly that we need to involve the local political leadership in everything that we want to do in municipalities. Because sometimes that trend happens that we tend to it is either more, maybe it's a technocratic or more bureaucratic or techno-managerial emphasis becomes more into the emerging fields, and the local political leadership somewhere feels left behind. And I think that needs to be changed. I believe we need to involve the local political leadership very closely into all the new emerging issues which are coming up, for the ability to convince the citizen does lies with the local political leadership. And therefore one needs to convince or convey, if not convince, the ideas into the languages, the local languages, into the terminology with the local leadership would be understanding. And I believe connecting the citizens, connecting the local political leadership is also equally important part of, if we are to improve the issues related with municipal finance. And yes, the urban system of India is one of the biggest. I think we will be having more than half a billion people would be staying in the cities of India, maybe now or maybe very soon. The number of municipalities probably would be going to 7,000-8,000. And these contexts, I believe the challenges are very much, and we'll need to have greater such collaborations, so that the idea is sharing is done, and the municipal accountants also need to be given a pivotal role in anything that we are trying to do in municipal finance, on all the bigger, newer idea that is coming. So, Rumi sir, I think I probably exceeded exceeded my time, but the idea was just to give a brief outline as to why this happened, and also to thank to the IMPRI family of you, Chavan ma'am, Professor ma'am, to trying to get these ideas onto book, or organize them maybe somewhat and share. So thanks a lot for the opportunity, and thank you for giving me a patient hearing. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ronale. That was sharing of very good ideas. I think you have touched upon some very important points that India has to consider as we are moving ahead in time, in terms of what all things are to be taken into consideration to address the requirements of the citizens. And I think the best point was about connecting with the citizens. You are absolutely right in saying I've visited some places where citizens, especially those belonging to the poor communities, they say that nobody comes from the municipality unless there is an election. So time has come for the administration to take into account these concerns of the citizens and do justice with the citizens, because this is what they are working for the welfare of the society. And so the points that you mentioned are very interesting. They call for great deliberations. I'm sure the panel of speakers who are present here would like to throw some light on those points and share their personal experiences. And I would like to thank you once again, and move on with the program ahead, to invite Dr. Purnima Chauhan. I think it will be good to get a perspective from her side. She has worked at very important positions in the government, and I'm sure this work and the experience that she has gained over the years would educate, enlighten all those who are participating in the program. Over to you, ma'am, Dr. Purnima Chauhan.
Thank you, Dr. Jaz. I am seeking enlightenment here. Let me put that across straight away. And since last night, I have been going through this fascinating book. And Unhaleji, congratulations to you that in less than 100 pages, you could cover the kaleidoscope of issues which are related to this very, very tough subject, which is like a matrix. It is even more difficult than the film Matrix. But let me say that at the outset that I think globally we know that the world exists at the bottom of the pyramid at the third level. Unfortunately, where the the triple bottom line should be there, In India, I feel that we are still struggling. And that you very eloquently said yourself, that we are struggling for a number of reasons. And I'm not an expert. Let me say that at the outset. It is sheer interest, because when I was handed this department in 36 years, perhaps this was the most challenging, along with the town and country planning. And perhaps that's why in the year 2010, 11, there were no takers for this. Nobody wanted this department, urban development. And I'm saying this honestly. And I also said, oh my God, what a crown of thorns. And when I went to actually thank the chief secretary, I didn't know whether, so she sympathized with me. She told me that, look, what I have given you is TCP, town and country planning, and urban development. And she also added as a side this thing comment that the minister is even more tough. So you have your hands full, and I had another department to go with it. And I know how difficult it was to get around to understanding and the cross-cutting complexities of even things like rent seeking at the staff level, and the kind of interests and the kind of multiplicity of schemes. It was a maze that perhaps should be put into as an examination question for the civil services. And that is what, and TCP still is struggling with town and country planning. Fortunately, I think these two departments are combined in many states, not in Himachal. So at the outset, I'll say, when you're planning development, urban development, and if the spatial planning area is wider, which normally it is, than the urban area, and there are different norms over there in the out periphery and different norms in the urban area, you can imagine what a citizen goes through. Is he getting his planning approvals on the periphery when there is no clear-cut demarcation between what lies in a peri-urban area? Where does the line stop? So there is ample scope for rent-seeking, corruption, and we are not even going to talk about that, because here we are talking of capacities, we are talking of funds being developed, the 3 Fs, out of which, funds, functions, and functionaries. The funds is the most vague and probably the battleground that we are talking about over here. So congratulations to you for having captured so many nuances that you have even gone ahead, and I must say you've done a fantastic chapter on data analytics, AI, and the climate change imperatives. And we have just seen in a number of mountains range. My only regret, and I will place the regrets in the beginning only, that perhaps you could add a chapter on mountain issues, because when we talk of O&M, recoveries, user charges, and other things, I have grappled with this issue. I remember being given a task by the NGT that why don't you adopt the Punjab model? Now NGT is sitting right up there, that for solid waste management, tum log Punjab ka model kyun nahi adopt kar lete? I missed a beat. I said, Punjab and Himachal are geographically totally different entities, totally different populations. Look at the dead mileage that a truck, solid waste management truck has to encounter the vehicles. Have they no idea? And they're passing orders. I hope I don't face contempt for saying that. But the point is that it did put it down in my report that we had, out of all the, then I went on this visit and I examined those entities, and they were linear. And you will understand straight away, being an expert practitioner and having done so much of in-depth research, that when you have a linear system and you have dead mileage coming back, your costs automatically double. And the kind of quantities that we are dealing with, you need a cluster approach. But these are not circular clusters, these are linear clusters. And I was very, very happy when I came to the end. You all must be knowing where is Manali. If you haven't, please come and visit us, be my guest. In Manali, I came across one of my executive officers, and hats off to him. I quote him in every seminar because brilliance is very hard to find. This was a man who, in a popular international destination like Manali, along the road had a very, very small area as a landfill. Very small area. And landfills get filled up so easily because it is not that we have large populations, but we have like Shimla with 3 lakh municipal population has 25 lakh tourist population, floating population. Now, look at the ratio, it speaks for itself. And Himachal as a whole has a 1:3 ratio of local to tourist population, So having said all that, and Manali is round the year destination, this man had a very small area, Bias River. If you've been to Manali, this side of the Bias River, was his area. Beyond the Bias River were all the huge hotels by all the political personalities also, were hugely there with very little regulation, almost none, and throwing their waste and sewage into the Bias River. Now, this man was perturbed. Instead of closing his eyes to this issue, he went about innovatively, and what he did was remarkable. He decided that he doesn't have the gun to shoot these people. He caught hold of the pollution control board guy, his counterpart, whose jurisdiction went beyond the Bias River to those hotels. So he said, come with me and we will give them a proposition that, listen, we are going to challan you, and a heavy challan, if you do what you're doing. But in case you decide, we will work out a formula that we will charge you fees, solid waste fees, for not chucking. We will collect, our truck will come and collect, but you will pay at the rate of, this is a pro rata rate he worked out, that 1 day's full tariff. So if you have 100 rooms, what is your 1 day's full tariff? That is what you will give. So, as a pro rata proportionate mechanism, it worked very well for all the hotels. And they managed to get them to agree. So these two guys together with differing jurisdictions managed to make sure not just that they imposed a rate, stopped this illegal throwing of garbage and sewage into the river and polluting it. They also managed to create a circular mechanism for the truck. And they also managed in that one circle to collect optimal garbage. So that was one, they use the resource. So the whole issue is of optimal resource utilization for better governance and for cost recovery. So if one has got that straight, I think anybody who has applied his mind to any project will agree that innovation lies in the detail. And this is where, so this guy, he did one innovation, he didn't stop over there. So whatever garbage was coming to him now, he put it into that tiny little landfill. He ensured that for 10 years, this was being filled. The inert material, when it filled up, he was not getting any more land. There is no land in Himachal to give, and especially for landfill, nobody wants them. So what he did, he decided that PWD, a third partner that he got, PWD was trying to put embankments along the Bias River. So what this man did, he said, okay, you have to fill these embankments, you're reclaiming land. So why do you want to get material? I'll give you my inert material. He used their JCB. He dug out his 10-year-old inert material, put it into those embankments. They had created the hollows over there, free of cost. And he actually reused his own landfill. And in the meantime, when those 10 years were happening, he never allowed any, methane gas to, escape from there. He made sure, and when I asked him, I said, how come I've gone to 4 or 5 other municipalities and they're all failures? How have you done all of this? And very humbly, he says, Madam, I've just used the Municipal Solid Waste Rules 2000. That was his humble reply. He never said that he's done something dramatic. So that is why his name is Mohinder and he deserves a comment. So that is the kind of person with passion and dedication. If every municipality had it, they would get around many of the capacity problems, many of the understanding of the laws. So that was one issue. The second issue, and I'm not coming directly to the finances, you've done a damn good job of it. The thing is, one, of course, you mentioned that the GST has subsumed so many taxes and there is no mechanism of sharing. So there is a suggestion in another report which says that 1/6, perhaps, that's a very high level, but central government should think of, devolving that much of money to the municipality. After all, the government also recognizes if they have an urban development fund now, infrastructure development fund, they know that where does development lie in the future? At the bottom of the pyramid, in the tier 2 and 3 cities. So what are we looking at? We have to share taxes. If not today, tomorrow, central government will have to think of it. So why not work out a non-acrimonious model in which we can do it, have partnerships and do it. And 2 or 3 other things. One, capacity building of the municipalities. Of course, Maharashtra must be having people who are really aware. Look at the budget. Sorry? Is that for me?
No, one of the panelists' mic is on, so that's why the disturbance happened. Please continue.
So capacity building has been a challenge. And why I'm saying all these things is I'm speaking from a mountain perspective. It may not exist in larger municipalities, so pardon my saying so, but I think it could find mention. Cantonment boards is another one. In Himachal, we have many of them. I don't know if I find any mention of those in the book. But cantonment boards are very well managed. Kasoli is one such example where government is now looking at that well-managed cantonment board where there is a entry tax, and they're saying how they can encroach or invade that. And the army is up in arms because they have managed it for so many years and so well. But then they impose the law strictly. There is something called rule of law. And this is exactly what I saw when I went to England for a year for my master's. And I said, oh my God, how come I'm not looking for an SDM or a DC or a municipal commissioner for any kind? First of all, I didn't have any grievances. I was going abroad for the first time. I was totally at sea. I didn't know how to use a computer. Even then, I learned. But even then, for all my needs, including trying to teach a Britisher Hindi, even for that, I had to only go to the library. Everything was provided in leaflets at that time. Now everything is online. I even got a Hindi Qaida from there to teach this man who already knew Hindi, actually. He was in love with India. So what I'm trying to say is, I never had to look for anything beyond the municipal level to redress my grievances. That is the India that we're looking for. That is the kind of governance and local accountability that is built on trust. And trust is exactly what you just flagged. The devolution of funds, the lack of devolution, the mysterious ways in where does the tax go, the non-transparency doesn't breed trust at all in any citizen. Here, right here where I'm staying in Aldera, I'm staying in a rural area post-retirement. We are grappling with the issue of solid waste management here. And there are the who's who are staying around us and wanting to contribute something. One person is contributing 15 lakhs. I said, bhai, itna paisa hai tumhare paas, ek individual. He happens to be somebody you all would know. So what I'm trying to say is, I told him, I said, listen, don't spoil this panchayat over here. They will see 15 lakhs and their mouth will be watering. Okay, you want to pool the funds, let's put it into a corpus. But because they think, wet waste can be managed by just buying a machine. I said, no. Please understand, this whole process has to be seen end to end. So if educated, enlightened, well-traveled people can think like this, God help us. What about the people who are actually at the grassroots, the vegetable vendors who are generating that wet waste and other? Are they willing to adopt those schemes? So capacity building, training, I came across huge issues. There was no plan to build capacities for any of the elected representatives. I organized that, got them to go, and then the women who were elected, and more than 50%, against a 50% quota, get elected in Himachal. They even occupy the general seats. They said, madam, we have not gone beyond our districts. We can't go to Chandigarh for training. I said, take your husband, we'll pay for it. And that is the first taste they had of what was their role playing. So how can you expect results from people who don't know what they're entitled to do? So that is another gray area in which, of course, we can do a lot more because, as we know, we are going to reach 50% urbanization very, very soon. We are going to have imperatives of understanding not simply accrual accounting, but accounting, which is almost a stern system of accounting, which involves environmental impacts also. If we can't even do accrual accounting, how can we go to green accounting? Now, that is a very large trajectory that is a very large bridge that we'll have to create. And that is affecting everybody. But I really don't know. You have captured somewhere the gender issues also. I feel we could have elaborated a little more. And then, of course, while there is another area which I'm very passionate about, and Niti Aayog has recently recognized that raw materials which can be used by all levels of governance, not just the municipalities. Culture is a resource, tangible and intangible resources for many purposes. For, in congested areas of Himachal, I had developed a scheme as Secretary Culture, which is called Aaj Purani Rahon Se, Apursa, for dispersal of tourism without losing the revenues, disperse it to all the areas and move it away from congested areas like Shimla, Dharamshala, and Manali, which are bursting at the seams and killing the goose that lays the golden egg. So culture is an area which is not tapped, leveraged at the moment. We could look at that area. And of course, it gives every destination a flavor of its own, and a rigor of a multi-sectoral research into municipal financing is very evident in your work. And somewhere I feel, while you're finalizing the book, Your case studies are so interesting. If they could come in a tabular form and the explanations come below, they will catch the eye. That is one thing. And it was very interesting also that, and they would be very good reference materials. So you have mentioned, foreign examples and others. And as far as O&M recovery goes, yes. And as far as reform goes as a patchwork, I always felt in JNNURM, and fortunately I was Director of Urban Development that time, that it was very project oriented. And I remember that time my secretary and myself, we worked to present a project to the Asian Development Bank where we worked with the municipalities to make them understand what is reform. In other words, process, output, outcome. They have to see what is the outcome they need. Now, where did this idea come from? I think SLBs, service level benchmarks, which exist and we started from Karnataka in the sanitation sectors, 4 of them, with indicators and benchmarks. The architecture was fantastic. The 13th Finance Commission was great that it imposed it upon all municipalities except Nagar Panchayats. Now that architecture, where is it? It was fantastic. Today, if you want to develop it again, you come across, you will develop the same thing again. It was perfect. Now that kind of rigor, that kind of vertical capture of data to so that it cannot be gamed by anybody. That is the kind, we can use our AI, we can use our data analytics to be able to analyze where are we, where do we want to be. And then the municipality can come up with resolutions which are realistic. So SLBs also required them to have 3-year projections and a vision. So when we worked on this project, we 700 crore project we were going to give to the ADB, we worked to make sure that the moment a municipality takes a decision to do a certain reform, a percentage of the incentive fund will flow to them there. Next, when they sign an agreement with the project implementation unit to get their services, a part of the fund will flow to them. So it was an overarching umbrella of reform. Projects were only need-based. Whereas JNNURM unfortunately became a project-oriented exercise, and reform was, कि अच्छा आप चिट्ठी पोस्ट कर रहे हो, उस पर स्टैंप लगानी भूल गए, चलो रिफॉर्म की स्टैंप लगा दी और भेज दिया गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया को यूसी लगा के. That is not what is required in a dynamic environment where people are crying for change, especially when they can see how systems function in other countries and function much better. And I have seen that in Japan, when we went to see their water utilization plant, their water quality plant, they were actually treating the entire water supply to the extent that it was potable. Even from the toilets, you could drink water, and that is true of any country in the West. Canada, I just came back from Toronto. You can drink the water from the loo. At Frankfurt and Munich airports, you could drink the water from the loo. So what I'm saying is, what is the cost of doing that? I asked in Japan. They said, well, the cost is high. I said, then why are you doing this? Potable water is only 10% of the total need. Baki ko aapko itna clean karne ki zarurat kyun hai? They said, no, we have to clean because there's leakage. The health outcomes, externalities can be very negative. Then I understood that there is an insurance involved. You see, the insurance companies will never cover their health insurances in case there is even that 1% chance of leakage. They don't take that chance because, and then how do they incentivize it? So the hotel we were staying in, they were buying that expensive water only for the 10% use. All the gray and black water, they were recycling in the backyard. So instead of buying all the water needs, there was an incentive that you establish a plant. So there are a number of examples where, these countries have grappled with these issues. Sweden, the CSAV solid waste management plant is actually functioning at 98% capacity utilization and still looking glum that we are not working at 100%. They're buying all the solid waste from all of Europe and converting wet and dry waste and supplying. And when I went to remote areas there, the households knew that this is coming from the heating is coming from the wet waste, and what is the dry waste going for? The citizens knew it. That is the level of participation. There is vertical participation from the municipal level to the top level for even policy planning and implementation, and the very critical one word, feedback. The feedback loop is so important. And so having said that this exists in this world, on this planet, we just have to have smaller regions. Stockholm, what does it do? It has regional planning. You also have mentioned regional planning when you talk of Maharashtra. Now, in regional planning, what are they doing? They have a lovely place they have a region called Gotland, in which there is Stockholm also as a city, and they have Visby Island, which is a UNESCO World Heritage. It has old heritage over there. It also has about 80% forest cover. They don't want to lose that. But that is not profitable. Maintaining that is not profitable. So what they have done is they try to encourage conferences and other things to happen in Visby Island, festivals and other things. And offices have opened up in Visby Island so that it is being used commercially, but with a carrying capacity imperative that so many people and no more, so that the forest is not lost. So even then they make losses. Who subsidizes them? The cross subsidy is coming from the huge revenues of Stockholm, because this is one region. So when the region makes its budget, they are cross-subsidizing. So these are examples which we can use to make sure that the Sustainable Development Goals, overarching goal of leaving no one behind. We don't leave regions behind. We don't leave municipalities behind. We don't leave the endemically impoverished urban people behind. साथ ही हाथ बढ़ाना. एक अकेला थक जाएगा, मिलकर बोझ उठाना. So fundamentally, what I felt is a fantastic cluster approach possibility exists. This culture of leveraging of culture as a resource exists, and also to give the destination. When you go across the world, you're not looking at tourism sites everywhere. You're just looking at the fantastic systems that take you from place A to place B. You're looking at transparency in dealing, and you as a visitor are impressed, and you come back wanting more. That is the kind of India. That is the kind of, and we have so much of heritage. We have so much to give. It's just that the systems need improvement. And of course, you have flagged issues of O&M. We are not recovering those also. GST is a very important concern. And of course, training, capacity building, and learning from outside, but not replicating blindly, customizing the replication. So I'm sure I'm out of time. So I think I'll end it over here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And Sameerji, hats off to you for having come up with this.
Thank you, Dr. Chauhan. It was a pleasure to listen to your vast and rich experience. And I think your points about the innovations that are observed in different regions of India need to be understood and applied appropriately. India displays a lot of diversity, and you cannot apply the same model uniformly to all the municipalities.
One size fits all will never work in this country, even in one state.
Even in one state.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasure listening to you, and I'm sure the author would have got many ideas based on the experience that you have shared. Since you gave so many examples of waste management, it's a very important responsibility of a municipality. And the kind of innovations that you observed, experienced during your work in the state of Himachal Pradesh are great lessons for everybody. I'm sure some of this work, it should be documented if it has not been done, so that
I
people
hope to
understand.
Do that with the help of IMPRI.
Yes, certainly it should be done.
No, thank you. And I really regard the kind of work that IMPRI is doing and the kind of practitioners you bring. I definitely learn and look forward to learning from them.
Absolutely. So I would like to now move forward in the discussion. Mr. Unale, I'll just come back to you to respond to your reactions on the messages given by Dr. Chauhan. But since solid waste management was discussed a lot, I would like to invite Professor Shamla Mani, who has considerable experience in this sector. It's an important duty of a municipality. It's one of the most important responsibility on which a lot of finance is spent. A lot of money is needed to handle this responsibility efficiently. So over to you, Professor Shamla Mani, for your comments. We look forward to hearing you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ijaz. It was wonderful listening to Mr. Unale and also Dr. Purnima Chauhan. Yes, I'm really the odd man out here because I'm basically an environmental scientist and working in the area of solid waste management and sanitation. I have been a professor at the National Institute of Urban Affairs, and I've been involved very closely with the Swachh Bharat mission, especially the capacity building 1.0. So, and continue to do a lot of work in the country for solid waste management and sanitation. So, yes, you would think that, how am I concerned with municipal finance? But that is really very, very true, that just like how Dr. Chauhan mentioned, I am looking at it from the side of, like Dr. Ejaz said, what is it that is required? I mean, and how are we placed, especially in terms of, such an important function, two functions of the municipality, which is, absolutely inherent with its existence. And we find that we are completely out of pocket whenever we talk of these two very, very important functions. One is that, I must congratulate Mr. Unale. I think you've done an excellent job. The book is, like Dr. Chauhan said, within 100 pages, and it's got so much of information and insight. And that comes from, your experience, and especially because you are right there in the middle of it all, so to say. But in this, I would also say that, like you said, there are over almost 5,000 municipalities, urban local bodies now, but it's going to be 8,000. Everybody knows that, some of the census towns are slowly moving towards the urban local body structure. And, very soon, like Dr. Chauhan mentioned, we are also going to become 50%, urban. Also, it is a very, very visible part of India. I mean, like, whether you have elections or whether, a dignitary is visiting or, you see anything happening, it is, the focus is urban. So even when there are floods and disasters, although, of course, as Dr. Chauhan said, that, mountain states are severely affected. But, when something happens in a big city and people are either drowning or, are affected by a cyclone or any of these things, it comes into focus. So I think we really need to put things in order. One of the things which you have also mentioned, Mr. Unale, and it has been pointed out so many times, that the revenue from various taxes and all that, it's barely meeting about 50% in a state, in states which are so well off, where your per capita GDP is so high. So you can imagine, there are states where, and urban local bodies where the, revenue collected through taxes is not even reaching the 50%. So even though we keep talking about the third tier of the constitution and the governance, we find that, there is really not enough resources, either with the, the urban local body itself, or, even if you put quite a lot of emphasis collecting, like making a bulk waste generator, like how Dr. Chauhan gave the examples of hotels and big restaurants, it is really not sufficient. So this is something, the Swachh Bharat mission, even you have mentioned in your book, several 100 crores have been allocated for both sanitation through Jal Shakti also and through Swachh Bharat mission. But the way to access, the untied funds are so less in the 15th Finance Commission that there are so many small urban local bodies which struggle, to meet the conditions and really are finding it very difficult to access, especially for capital expenditure. And of course, everybody knows what are the angst of the urban local bodies and municipalities for meeting their O&M expenditure. Is a very well-known fact that even if you take just one sector like solid waste management, that the almost 70-80% is just on salaries and consumables and things like that. So, of course, Johan mentioned the Solid Waste Management Rules 2016. Madam, if he is following Mohinder, you can please tell him that it is updated. And in fact, in Solid Waste Management Rules 2016, we don't even recognize landfills. Landfills, were finance commissions of the previous previous systems. But now we are saying that, wet waste should not even reach the landfills. Wet waste has to be composted or converted to biogas, either within the city or the community, and in fact the methane debate has gone up now. COP20 will not even get another chance if we don't do something very strictly about this. And also from the sewage and underground drainage, they all contribute to the methane. So coming back to the actual financial aspect, I would also like to represent from the, after my retirement, I've also been trying to help my own community, trying to meet some of the challenges. And of course, we are here in Delhi trying to work with the MCD, and trying to fulfill the requirements of the SWM rules and sanitation rules. And you would be surprised that it's not only the taxes, sir, that that a citizen pays. As a member of the RWA in Delhi, in fact, all the RWAs are registered RWAs. We are registered entities. And we are also bulk waste generators because many of us are in gated communities. So when we manage our RWAs, actually we are doing, and the MCD is aware of it. Our urban local body is very much aware of it. They are actually doing the work of what was envisaged in the 74th Amendment as, you can say, a sub-mohalla committee or something like that. And, we spend a lot of money. We spend a lot of money, contributing to maintaining even sewage, underground, sewage, drainage, even the, so to a certain extent, within locality, whatever the expenditure that is required towards the maintenance of street lights and roads and security and various other things, of course, also solid waste management, door-to-door collection and all that. So when, something like this comes, that, you have to, as a bulk waste generator, you have to invest in either structures for composting or, whatever the other thing is, or for the dry waste, storing and giving and all that. We found that, this is another added expenditure from the citizen side. Our ULB has been extremely helpful. We have been very much working with the ULB. But despite that, what we are finding is that, grants are not available at all. We could not access. I mean, I was on the other side talking about Swachh Bharat Mission and the funds and the grants. But I myself realized that the citizen cannot, or the BWG cannot access. And we have been literally begging at the doorsteps of CSR foundations and, giving them extremely detailed, because I've been in this sector and, represented, and even our urban local body has been literally recommending us. But money is not, resources are not available. So the ultimate thing is that there seems to be like, I would say, the importance of the 73rd and 74th Amendment of the Constitution, and the fact that it can actually work for us. And there are citizens who have become now, like Dr. Chauhan also pointed out, very aware of the situation, very well attuned to exactly what is their responsibility and how much needs to be done. And they know about things like the finances, management, and all that. But resources in terms of funds is not available either to the ULB or, and I personally feel that the corporate sector, which is really the one which is benefiting tremendously from urbanization in India, all that has been invested in building our cities, making them so good, making them so beneficial for the corporates to thrive so much. If they cannot be somehow roped into this, really, honestly, I can't see where is the source, because with barely 50% being, of our revenue expenditure being earned through taxes, and all of it being utilized for almost salaries and things like that, both the ULB and the citizens are left completely without any resources, I would say, for small capital works that need to be done. So it is not enough for the government to only insist on 2% of the profit in 3 years to be utilized by the corporate for CSR. I would say that please, like Mr. Unale, Dr. Chauhan, and all of you, who have the wherewithal to really represent this to the government, that the corporates who are deriving the maximum benefit from urbanization in India should really pay greater attention. Otherwise, we may have spurts of brilliance here and there, but we will really not be able to solve the actual issues and go for quality of life, and especially climate change, which is going to really eat into our resources and destroy whatever we have done till now. So I would also stop here since the speakers. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and really wonderful work, Mr. Unale, and we look forward to the final, and wonderful work. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Professor Shyamala Mani. It was a pleasure listening to you. And you've rightly pointed out and highlighted the scarcity or the difficulties in accessing funds that are available. And there is an urgent need to look for external sources, tap alternate sources of funds to fulfill the needs and requirements of today's times. With these remarks, I would like to thank you. And I'm sure Mr. Unale would have something to say regarding the points raised by you towards the end of the program. But I would like to invite Professor Mahalaya Chatterjee, who teaches economics at the University of Calcutta, to get a perspective from her on the book presented by Mr. Samir Unale. Madam, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks to IMPRI and the panel for giving me a chance. I'm sorry. This is a difficult day for me. I couldn't hear what Mr. Unale has spoken, and also by previous speakers. I am just here to give my impression on the book, what I could gather very quickly when I got the book on the Thursday night. Now, Mr. Unale has rightly said that he has jotted down the points we generally discuss, we generally talk about when we talk about municipal finance. So in that sense, it is a very, very, very important addition to the municipal finance. But what I think about the book, that the book has 29 chapters, including the introductory one. It has taken up so many issues. But let me just categorize the issues and put it together. That is, it starts with the constitutional amendment. That is, as we all know, that the municipal finance was in a doldrum before the constitutional amendment. At least the constitutional amendment spoke for the so-called state finance commissions, and it was thought 30 years ago, it was thought that it would solve the problem of municipal finance for smaller and larger bodies and so and so. So I would like to say that, the first thing he takes up the 74th constitutional amendment, which is a watershed as far as urban local bodies are concerned. Then in chapter 7, he talks about the finance commission and municipal finance. And also in 2 other chapters, he talked about urban budget and also the local government and other things. Then the main issues, if I just took it, try to make them under subheadings. One is, the first is the issue of public finance. Municipal finance is a part of public finance, but more important because municipalities or urban local bodies have to walk into the grassroots level, so that there are 2 chapters. One is on taxation, another is on budget, and the third one is on budget of the city level agencies. City level agencies, that is one can say that this issue joins the issue of broader issue of public finance, that is what is happening in the upper levels and how it transcends to the municipal level, to the town level or city level, that is there. Then the third important issue that is present in this book, that is about accounting and municipal finance. We all know that there was a change, there was a transformation and others as far as municipal finance is concerned. It took about double entry accounting based municipal budget, which was not that before. Before that, municipal accounting was single entry, and it was no different from what you find in the grocer's book and others. So this was a really I should say a big change as far as municipal accounting system is concerned, and the municipal budget after that, that is also being placed as a part of double entry accounting. When there was the concern of capacity building and others, as we know, I can talk about West Bengal. When I did my surveys for my PhD in late 80s and others, most of the municipalities in Kolkata metropolitan area, they didn't have a full-fledged accountant, a permanent accountant. Most of the accountants and also engineers were in deputation from other departments of the state government. So this is in the new millennium, the new type of double entry accounting and others. Then the municipal finance accounting system that has emerged as a separate system from other type of bodies, corporate bodies and others. Municipalities are different because they are not profit earning bodies, so their accounting systems will be different, and so and so. So it also links with the audit features and others. Then the fourth issue that is being taken up in the book is the financing options. And very rightly, the 9th chapter and 13th chapter, they can be linked together in a sense that the 9th chapter talks about the loans and others, and the 13th chapter is about credit ratings and others. Credit ratings, which leads to the issue of whether the urban local bodies are eligible for loans and how much loan can be available. Then the bond market and others, development finance institutions, land as a means of financing. Then with the once upon a time when we were students, we called about joint sector. Now it is called the PPP model, the public-private partnership. That is also being dealt in the 17th chapter. Then the user charges, how can they be charged? What are the issues with user charges and others, and so and so. And finally, foreign funding, whether foreign funding in terms of loans or any other things can be available for the urban local bodies directly, and so and so. Then the fifth issue, which has become very important, is the economy and the economy municipal finance interface. There is one chapter on city economy, One is another chapter on ACZ, that if there are ACZs, how it would affect the city economy, and then the financial viability of the cities. All of them has become important, because now there is an issue which is somehow missing in this book. I should come to it later on. That is, has this book is more in the experience in Maharashtra and so and so. But there is an issue in the international level that whether metropolises, they should be granted the a bigger role. Metropolises can be treated as separate states out of the so-called state system. If that is the case, if that is the case, then what is the financial viability of the cities? The economic condition of the cities, that in turn that signifies that what is the state of the city economy, that would lead that what would be the state of the financial viability or financial condition of the ULBs. So this issue is also very important, and that has been dealt in things. Then the sixth one, I would like to look it in this way, that union government and municipal finance. That is the so-called the projects or missions of the union governments, and how that is affecting the financing condition of the urban local bodies, the smart cities, the SPVs, then the urban missions, and thirdly, the conditionalities of urban missions, how they can be, how they can help or cannot help the so-called urban local bodies, how the SPVs are affecting the basic spirit of the 74th Constitutional Amendment. That is also a very big issue if you think of smart cities and other missions. Then some topical issues are dealt with. One is the climate change, SDG, and the role of the things. Now, this is very important because urban local bodies are part of the whole. So what it cannot go against what is happening in the whole, but it has to do in its own way for climate change, its mitigation, and reaching the SDGs. So this is in and out of the whole perspective, the joining and disjoint with the whole one and the municipalities, that has been dealt in a very good way. Then the pandemic lessons. Of course, we have seen that in the pandemic, we are not ready for that. None of our ULBs were ready for that, but they had to carry on a lot of things during the pandemic. Pandemic has taught us about the readiness with not only this type of pandemic, but any type of disaster, be it climatic, be it other things, that what are the basic requisites of the things. Then the capacity building issues like the manpower issues, and finally the politics and economics of urban local bodies or municipalities. That is moral hazard, the ethical dilemmas, and others. Now, when I have a point here, when Mr. Runhale talks about the political economy, the first line is about corruption. We all know that corruption is an issue. But there are other aspects of political economy also. That is with the 30% reservation and others. The composition of the so-called ULBs, the so-called councillors or commissioners of the ULBs, how they are elected, the 30% reservation for women, and then the reservation of for the backward caste and others, how they are changing the so-called composition of the ULBs, and how that is affecting the whole financial system and the so-called allocation priorities and etc. So this is my on the book. Now, as I have a suggestion to IMPRI, that is, Mr. Unhale has written this book on the experience of his Maharashtra experience. Now, why don't IMPRI take up the issue with some other states, especially with the states where there are metropolitan cities? Metropolitan cities, and not with metropolitan cities. There should be pick and choose with that. That is, say, Maharashtra and Gujarat taken together. Maharashtra is sometimes overshadowed by Mumbai, whereas Gujarat an equally urbanized state but doesn't have any so-called metropolitan area which can be compared to Mumbai. So why IMPRI doesn't take up some type of comparative studies between this type of states, this type of state that would enhance our understanding of the issue of municipal finance, the old issues, the municipality is suffering from dark of money, the success and failure of constitution amendments, especially the State Finance Commissions, their roles and others, the State Finance Commission versus the SPVs in the smart cities, the missions, the conditionalities, which is aptly talked about. Now, this should enhance our understanding of municipal finance, which is absolutely required and in this point of time where, as Professor Samlamani has said, that the so-called there is time that we are going to reach 50% urbanization in, say, next 1 decade. So this is my short review of the book, what I have seen. Again, I'm extremely sorry that I could not stay here for the whole time. And thank you, IMPRI, and thank you others for giving me that chance.
Thank you very much, Professor Chatterjee. I think it wasn't a short review, it was a very detailed review, and authors benefit greatly from such reviews. So the precision and the kind of information you reflected on each and every aspect would be of great interest to the author. Thanks a lot once again for your time and for participating in the program. May I request Dr. Soumyadeep Chattopadhyay, who teaches economics at Vishwa Bharati University in Shantiniketan, to please share his views on the book.
Sir, Soumyadeep sir is not able to connect because he's in North Bengal, some internet issues.
Some internet issues.
Yeah. So
okay.
You can go to your remarks or Samir sir's remarks. Whichever.
I would like to, give the floor to Mr. Samir Unhale because the book is from his side, and he got a lot of perspectives from persons having varied backgrounds and experiences. And I'm sure he would like to reflect on some of the points shared. Over to you, yes. Mr. Unhale.
Yeah. Thank you, Rumi sir. And thank you very much to Dr. Chavan ma'am, Professor Chatterjee ma'am, Professor Shamla Mani ma'am for their insights. They were greatly helpful. And I'm sure that maybe it can be developed further. And the suggestions, especially of having more such comparative studies between various states, I think would be a very good way forward, because we are in the phase of almost hyper-localization, where we have many regional variations happening, and now we do have the data sets, the granular data, the processing abilities to reach and deep dive into the regional variations. I think that was a very good suggestion, and greatly helped into the insights by all the three very respected elderlies to give us the ideas how could move ahead. As I said, this was a 10% of what one would have liked to do, and I think the suggestions on improvements are very well taken, and we hope we can come up with a second version which is more developed, especially the operational efficiencies of the various municipal services that are given. It might be solid waste, water supply, sewage treatment, street lighting, and other broader services which are given by the municipalities. And if they, in the parlance of private sector, are treated as independent income and expenditure balance sheets are prepared for these services, like efficiency benchmarks, thing would get an idea for us as to how to dwell further into these suggestions that have been made. I think there were also two comments actually made by one was by Mamta Jainji on the Bangalore model of decentralized and its financing, and one was regarding the green credit program, and other was by Mr. Manas Rath regarding actually the efficiencies of municipal functioning, and also the how could be the NGOs being a part of it, and whether the budgets and taxes and high salary bills actually that the municipalities are given. Obviously, they, as rightly said by Manojji, that they require greater deliberations and maybe deeper insights by more studies into that. And I hope that the various mission funds are available. Some part of that should be made. In fact, I had suggested that earlier, that the research projects by think tanks, by academic institutions need to be encouraged into these issues, which otherwise are not really looked into, and we could take help of various academic institutions by maybe supporting them in the mission fund itself, because the mission fund for urban itself is of 8 trillion rupees, 8 lakh crore for the 5 years, and I'm sure that even the 1% of the information and education and communication budget, which is normally given to every such missions, could also be used for the research projects by various academic institutions and think tanks. And I think it will greatly help any clause, just not municipal finance or the topic that we discussed here, but any many such more topics which require such investigations and support. Regarding the Mamta Jain's question on the decentralizing of the water treatment project and its financing, I think the Bangalore model is being acknowledged by the ministry, by the CPHO and the CPHO as one of the models that can be replicated. And I believe the technology and the O&M part, the manpower of maintaining such a project and skilling them, if that's done, I'm sure that people would be more than willing, especially the smaller towns or the Nagar Panchayat or the transitory urban areas would be benefited by any decentralized new technologies that are coming up. I'm also I think I had read also recently that CAMUS technology is also being, acknowledged. So we will have to move for, such smaller activities, more, like of various options need to be made available to the citizens, the cities, and also the empowering and enabling ecosystem for that also need to be ready, so it would be really easy adopt such newer technologies. Regarding credit program, I think it has not been adequately dealt in the book. It was maybe cursorily mentioned, but this newer models of financing, I felt there was more noise and less actual delivery to cities. I mean, I don't know of major cities or any till now at least, getting who have been benefited by such programs. Maybe there is still, effort needs to be done for bridging these funds to actually reach the municipalities, and maybe some more work needs to be done on that. So generally, I think the ideas were great, and I hope to incorporate them, and probably get the detailing which is required also in the next version. Probably, hopefully, there is a sufficient peace of mind to go into that. And secondly, of course, the purpose was, to put the municipal perspective, and the questions, more questions. Actually, this topic had to be highlighted also, even within the municipal framework of the various systems, that work in the urban spaces, also need to, come together. And like right, ma'am said regarding the metropolitan areas, and then it was a very good suggestion that we at least have now many such metropolitan regions in the country, and the various agencies like the municipality, the smart city, the development authority, maybe the DISCOM, the electricity supply, the water utilities, and such various organizations can come together by making the metropolitan planning committee more active, and the financial component of the planning part. Very often the planning in urban context is taken as the land use planning, but it is one part of it. Other is, of course, the resource planning also, like the financial planning. That also, needs to be properly acknowledged, and therefore given a proper a framework by which it can be implemented in the municipal area. So financial planning can be financial reporting, sharing of projects. With the new digital tools that are being made available, I think there shouldn't be much of the problems for getting the sharing of information and data and communicating amongst various people. So I think the ideas which were shared were really helpful. It did help clear many of my own doubts, which I had. I still continue to have many actually, and I hope that this is just a trigger, and with the hope that many such practitioners, maybe who are still working, and many other people would contribute and work upon this concept, this idea of municipal finance or city financing, because all said and done, cities are going to be crucial for decades. Funding finance, capacity building, and participation will be the triad which is going to make or break the cities. And sometimes a bit scary to imagine how will be our cities in say 2040, maybe 20 years hence. And now, therefore, we have to anticipate those ideas and start executing now with that speed, and therefore getting all the acts together, all the agencies together, all the the efficiencies and resource allocations, financial resources, manpower resources, is going to be extremely crucial. Otherwise we will be missing the bus, and the challenges staring at us might overpower us. So that's briefly. Uh, I'm still trying to understand, recollect whatever very important inputs were made. So I'm really again grateful for all the remarks made by the three scholars, and also the two participants, who enriched my understanding. So Rumiji, I think I was more listening and trying to understand rather than immediately respond. So thanks a lot for all the time which was given for this book. Thank you very much, and I hope to probably dwell upon that tonight immediately. So,
Yes.
thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Runale. I think through this exercise, I look at it as an exercise, and also you may be looking at it in the same manner. Through this exercise of holding a discussion on your book, you entered a zone in which you experienced many new things. And like us researchers, we write on a variety of topics, and after reaching a certain point of time, we realize that this needs to be investigated or improved further. So you've entered into that zone, and I would encourage you to continue with this good work, to improvise on the work that you've already done. And I'm sure once this book is published, it will be received very well. It's a forward-looking book. It gives many ideas of how municipalities should be in future, what are the things that need to be taken into consideration. So from that point of view, it's an excellent work at this stage, and you may like to polish it further as you proceed forward. I would like to thank the distinguished panel of speakers, Dr. Purnima Chauhan, Professor Shamla Mani, and Professor Mahalaya Chatterjee. It was a pleasure listening to you. The kind of perspectives that you brought were very interesting. I learned a lot, and I'm sure the author would have also learned many new things. And I have, after listening to various perspectives and opinions, I would like to conclude by saying that there are two types. I think there are two types of municipalities in India. One, which are in a better position as compared to others. So the better ones would need to work harder on identifying the innovations, developing innovations to be in a better position to serve the citizens. And the ones which are not in a good position, those municipalities need to be hand-holded for several more years by the higher levels of government in terms of improving their capabilities through training, devolving greater funds, making funds easily available, and bringing them up to a certain level wherein they can function in a self-sustainable manner. With these remarks, I would like to conclude from my side and hand over the platform to Rehmat. Rehmat, you may like to thank the panel of speakers. Over to you.
As we come to an end of today's discussion, I, Rehmat Arora, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, would like to propose a formal vote of thanks. On behalf of #IMPRI Center for Habitat, Urban and Regional Studies, CHURS, I would like to thank all of you for attending today's deliberation. A book discussion on Singularities of Municipal Finance, #City Reflection, authored by Mr. Sameer Onhaleji and published by IMPRI Books. Congratulations again, sir. We are grateful to our chair for the session, Dr. Rumi Ejazji, our esteemed panelists, Professor Mahalya Chatterjee ji, Dr. Purnima Chauhan ji, Dr. Soumyadeep Chattopadhyay ji, and Professor Shamala Mani ji, for taking part in the discussion and enlightening us. Lastly, we would like to thank and congratulate Mr. Sameer Onhaleji for his book and leading today's deliberation. We are grateful if you're watching us later on our YouTube channel or listening to us on our various podcasts or reading our publication. We thank all of our participants who have raised pertinent questions and actively participated in today's deliberation. You may also find more book discussions and thematic events under IMPRI Web Policy Talk series. We hope you continue to join in the future to our IMPRI Web Policy Talk and Web Policy Learning. Wishing you a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Remis.